Okay, we're here with Taylor Cornfield of Glover U and myself, Jeff Glover, and we are chatting about our new operations program, our new operations coach. And I say new, but there isn't anything new at all about Taylor Cornfield. Actually, she has been in our business for some time now. So before we get into the program and what you're going to be doing for agents and operations team members across North America, tell us a little bit about yourself. Where did you get started? How did you find this opportunity? And we'll get into the operations stuff in a minute, but I want the people that are watching this and considering hiring you to know, what led you to this point.
Yeah, so I actually started my professional career in the education world. I graduated Michigan State in 2013, and I went on to actually teach elementary age kids for about 2 years. And to be quite honest, I quickly realized it just wasn't for me.
So you came into real estate to work with elementary age kids.
Exactly. I feel like that some days.
Yeah.
But no, honestly, when I look back on it, it was one of the hardest decisions I made because I had just gotten out of school.
Mm-hmm.
I took all the time to, dedicate myself to the teaching world, and I just wasn't happy. That was the honest truth. I had to look in the mirror and say, this isn't for me.
Yep.
So looking back, it was the best decision I ever made because I found Jeff Glover and Associates. Of course, I was totally new to the world at that time, 5 years ago. So I hopped into entry-level position.
Yeah.
It was called the client care associate role.
And so that was basically like front desk duty. What were your duties?
Right. So
I think, a lot of front desk type duties.
Yeah, it is. It's basic level entry admin duties. I was answering incoming phone calls, but it actually helped me learn all about real estate quickly because I was talking to clients that had questions right away.
Yep.
And then I was doing data entry stuff.
Yeah.
But I quickly realized that my passion was working with the agents and working with the clients to make them happy and feeling like that they were working with the best team possible and getting a great level of service. And that really starts sometimes with them calling the office. So,
well, and I use the term, working the front desk loosely because at a real estate office, that's the first person that, answers the phone that people see. Yeah. And even though you were physically seated at the front desk, you were doing more, on a real estate team, a client care associate is doing a lot more than somebody just working at the front desk answering phones.
Yes, right? Exactly. And I really at that point was cross-trained in all of the different admin roles on our team. So if our listing coordinator needed help inputting a listing, I was learning how to do that at that time. Yep. So I was really able to dive in that role and learn everything real estate at a quick pace. So I loved it and I was never bored. I was always learning and growing. Yeah. And I knew I had made the right decision pretty quickly.
So you spent how much time in that role?
I was in that role for about a year and a half.
And then after that, then where'd you go next?
Yeah, so I was grateful enough that Taylor Kerrigan, my boss, took me under her wing. So other Taylor.
Yeah. Which, by the way, a lot of people that follow Glover U or have been in our programs, they're very familiar with Taylor because she's the one running around at our events, controlling stuff behind the scenes. And Taylor Kerrigan started very similarly, basically in an entry-level admin position, worked her way up, and then got to a point where the baton was passed to, okay, you're going to do operations for Glover U. You're going to do operations for our title company for, help us with our market centers. So you're going to need to find someone to start to replace you. And I would imagine that was around the time of, all right, well, let's start grooming Taylor for this.
Yeah. So that's when it started to happen. And I moved into an assistant operations manager role at that time. And really, I was an assistant to Taylor. And she started to slowly delegate her responsibilities to me. And I was just observing her during that time as well. So I could learn exactly how to do it just like she does it. And as Jeff said, a lot of you may know her. And I really do feel like she is the best of the best. And I was able to learn from the best that means and mimic how she did things and of course improve it along the way. But that's when I really was like, wow, getting to implement these processes and seeing how she does that and creates these things for our agents and clients during that assistant operations manager role, which was for about 2 years.
So you were in the assistant operations manager role for 2 years.
Yes.
So in 2 years' time, given how fast we move, how much we implement, I mean, you it was like drinking out of a fire hose. I mean, you were learning a lot very quickly.
Yes, for sure. I look back on it and I'm like, sometimes I can't even believe how much I really was able to grasp and learn in such a short amount of time. But it was definitely exciting. And like I said, I never felt like I was coming into the office not learning something new. So it was great.
So then at some point in time, Taylor and I, and probably mostly Taylor, since you were mostly reporting to her, felt that you were capable of running all of the operations for a sales team closing 1,000 units a year, you know, a team of, I guess, probably at the time there was 55 or 60 of us, 25 of which were salespeople. We basically, you know, after a couple of years, she felt comfortable handing you the keys, and she moved into operations for Glover U and some of the other organizations. And so what was that like, or how did you know that you were ready? I mean, talk to me about that transition for you.
Yeah, that's a really good question. So about 2 years ago, like you said, I guess the official baton was passed, and I've been in the role now for 2 years. And when I look back at that time, if I'm being quite frank, there was a part that was like, wow, these are really big shoes to fill. Like, can I really do this? And when I knew I was officially ready, I think, was I would realize throughout the day, I just wasn't asking her as many questions, right? I knew how to do it. And when agents called me, I knew how to answer their questions. And when clients had a concern or needed to talk to someone, I could handle it. And that's really when I knew that I could do it.
And so technically you've been from assistant operations manager for 2 years, and now operations for all of JGA, and you know, working a bit with our sales team, even working with our inside sales team. I mean, I think it's safe to say, and I probably haven't even told you this yet, I mean, you are 80% operations, but you are 20% leadership in other areas of the company, right? So you do have people that work with you are going to have an opportunity to pick your brain on the exposure that you've had to other areas of the business, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So tell me what that looks like. Like what's your tip? I mean, I know it changes by the day, but you know, a typical day for you at JGA looks like what?
Yeah, so I would say that a typical day for me, it's funny because when you ask that question, I'm like, well, I kind of am doing things different every single day just based on what's happening in the company and with our clients. But on a typical day, I would say 40% of my day is working with the operations team, making sure that their responsibilities are getting completed, and if they need any assistance, I'm there for them.
So on that note, hiring and retaining and firing if need be, that's obviously something that's totally been on your plate.
So actually at this point, our 5 operations team members, out of the 5, 4 of them are hires that I brought in. So that's been such a rewarding process to bring in, hire them, being able to learn how to recognize talent, because that can be tough.
And then once you have talent, figuring out how to continue to recognize them with additional opportunities, right?
Exactly. And being able to hold their hand in a way to make sure that they reach their goals and that they're growing has been a great experience.
So back to the typical day. So
typical day. So about 40% again of my day, I would say, is in the operations, wearing the operations hat, making sure that the girls, you know, are being taken care of, and those, for the business to continue to run, we have to make sure that there are certain tasks that are done every single day. So we're making sure that our closing calls are being done daily. So there are things that have to get done daily in order for the business to keep running. So I'd say that's a good chunk of my day. But then, you know, just yesterday we had 2 new hires. So I was working with the 2 new hires, making sure they knew our behind the scenes platform. So our CRM and what that looks like and how they're going to utilize it. And then other part of my day, I had one-on-ones with all the agents last week to make sure they were utilizing our CRM and using our database strategies and things like that. So I work with the agents, I would say, daily as well.
And that's I think where a lot of real estate teams make a little bit of a mistake. They really separate operations from sales. And don't get me wrong, there's a big difference between operations and sales, but we're very active in involving our operations team with our salespeople, because at the end of the day, what you don't want to have happen, and I honestly believe we don't have this here, but I'll tell you, this exists in probably 90% of sales organizations around the country. And that is, you know, the salespeople get excited when sales are up, and the operations people get depressed when sales are up, because operations feels like, well, that's going to be more work for us. I get paid the same regardless. Well, yeah, we're excited for the salespeople, but they get to make more. I don't make any more when we sell more. And I think we've done a really good job, and obviously you're to credit to that, of bridging that gap. So the operations team is just as excited with the sales team when they're doing their part.
Yes, right? It's true. So if we have a listing month where we're taking 100 listings, it's an exciting month for our operations team. Like we know we're going to be slammed, we have a lot of work to do, but it's exciting because we know our team is working at a high level, and I definitely think that that's a huge
And by the way, for those of you watching this, that is the secret sauce in success on a real estate team. When your operations team is excited about growth and is excited about additional sales and excited about contests, and listings taken, and you know, putting in a little bit extra time for the good of everybody. I mean, that is what leads to retention in a real estate organization. That is what leads to recruiting, because more people want to be a part of that. And I think it's important that you know, we mention that.
Yes, agreed.
So let's fast forward to you know, coaching and training. You know, obviously, been with the company for just over 5 years. You've assistant operations manager for 2, operations manager for 2. So basically, we can call it 4 years as the operations manager, right? Or at least in that level. What is it about coaching and training? Why do you think you know, we tapped you on the shoulder, or you kind of nudged us to say, yeah, this is the next level. I want to continue running JGA at a high level. You know, I want to, you know, help us grow, and I want to get to 1,000, 1,500, 2,000 transactions, but I also want to contribute to Glover U. Why is that?
Yeah. So I have been eyeing Glover U since I joined JGA, because I think being able to train others on what we do best is just awesome. And so when I first got into the role, I obviously knew I wasn't skilled back, you know, 5.5 years ago. But I was always like, I hope one day I'll get to that level to be able to share all the things that I'm learning. So the other really exciting thing for me is I started my career field in education. So to now see it coming full circle, yes, I'm not, you know, teaching elementary age students. However, the skills of being able to take all the things I'm doing on a daily basis and that I've mastered and seen work and be able to help another operations team do that, it has been really awesome and something I really enjoyed a lot, and I can't wait to continue to do that for more people.
Awesome. So we really have 2 types of, I would say there's actually 3 types of clients that either hire you for one-on-one coaching or join your group coaching program. And that is an agent that hires an assistant, and maybe it's their first assistant, or maybe it's their 10th assistant, but they say, you know what, I'm tired of trying to figure this out myself. You guys have it figured out. Obviously, just take her or him and train them.
Exactly.
Right. So that's one pretty common customer. Right. Then we have the customer that says, well, we're a pretty large team. I can't get our operations figured out. I can't get our customer experience figured out. You guys are running a large operations team. You guys are running a large sales team. We need help, just generally speaking, in all areas of operation, right? So that's another avenue there. And then we also have agents who want to learn the operations side of the business, or want to improve their customer experience so that one day they could teach their assistant to do the same thing. So instead of hiring us to teach their assistant, they hire us to teach themselves, so then they can continue to teach people as they have people that come on and as their operations team grows. Right?
There are so many pieces to the puzzle of an operations operation at a real estate team that, you know, for example, one of my coaching clients now is brand new, has never done it. And just having the coach to say, okay, let's start here. And then as you build the pieces, being able to then move forward and develop, I think is really crucial. I can't imagine just jumping into it, not having like a Taylor Kerrigan. Really.
And that's what they're basically getting with you.
Exactly.
Hiring us, Taylor Cornfield is like, I mean, you have the direct line to Taylor Kerrigan. I mean, we communicate all day long. So, I mean, you're still
she's probably texting my phone right now.
So question, and I'm going to kind of put you on the spot a little bit, but don't worry, it won't be a tough one. You'll know the answer, I think. A lot of people that are going to end up watching this, or a lot of agents or business owners that have large real estate teams, they would say, wow, you know, you guys are doing 900 to 1,000 transactions a year. You must have an operations team of like 12 people. How many are on our operations team?
We have 5 operations team members.
So 5 operations team members handle 900 to 1,000 transactions a year.
Exactly.
Okay. First of all, I know you know this, but if you didn't already know this, that's rare, right? A lot of teams, when they get to that level, they have teams of 7, 8, 9, even 10 operations people handling 900 to 1,000 transactions if they even get to that level. So my question that I'm going to put you on the spot is, how do we make it work, or why do you think we're able to do that sort of units and volume with 5 operations team members? What's the difference?
Yeah, so the first thing that comes to my head is processes and procedures being in place in order for a high level of work to happen on a daily basis. So our operations team members aren't coming in and looking at emails for 3 hours, right? So they have we all have a time block, and we know exactly what we're doing each day. And we're operating at a high level to make sure these processes are happening on a consistent basis.
Sure.
So that is really what I think the secret is.
Yeah.
And to make sure that if you're implementing something, it's being followed through with, and that there's a process for every piece of that puzzle.
Shifting gears a little bit, we'll wrap up here. Something that I you hear me say all the time, what do we do in this situation? What is my response almost every time?
What do we do in this situation?
Yes. If I ask, okay, what have we done in this situation before when things come up? Because there's things that come up almost every day in this business. Check the.
You're going to shoot me off guard here.
Check the policy and procedures
manual.
Oh,
yes, he does say that a lot. I'm sorry. He got me off
What
guard.
does the policy and procedures manual say, right?
Yes.
How have we handled this situation before?
Try to document everything in that thing.
If you can believe this, 90% of real estate teams and brokerages don't even operate with the policy and procedures manual.
Which is shocking.
Right?
Yes.
So we are very of the mind, do for one, do for all. If we make a decision, we stick with it, we put it in writing, people can go and reference it. Yep, that's on page 38, section 6, whatever. And that's something that every real estate team, every real estate brokerage needs. And that's obviously something that we help with as well. I mean, we don't give them a copy of ours because every team is different, but you help them create that and get that process going.
Right. Every team would have their own policies and procedures, but it's about creating it and helping implement that.
Creating the client experiences, right. So so talk a little bit about your program or programs. So there's a one-on-one coaching option.
So
and there's also a group coaching option.
Exactly. So the one-on-one coaching option is to be able to work with someone one-on-one. It's definitely more tailored directly to that individual because we're working together, just the two of us. And then I'm super excited about our next group coaching that's launching in April, because it'll allow us the ability to work with multiple people at once. And whether you're a transaction coordinator, an operations manager, anyone that's looking to dive deep into how they can improve their systems, everything from time blocking to database management to client events, all of that will be covered. And I'm really excited to dive into that.
That would be a good one that would be a good place for any agent, assistant, or a person leading an operations team to start, because that's kind of the foundational, the ground level stuff. That's kind of like, all right, if I have an assistant and I want them to get trained up, I want them to be just as sharp as a Jeff Glover and Associates assistant. That's where you'd send them first. Now, from there, if you wanted them to help you build your empire, if you wanted them to help you hire and recruit and retain to your value proposition, that's probably more of the one-on-one coaching.
Exactly. I would agree with that. Yeah.
Awesome. So if they want more information, they can go to gloveru.com. And that's all on there. And I know the people that are already working with you are thrilled. We're getting great reviews so far. And I can't wait to see the difference that you make in the industry.
Yes. So excited. So excited.
All right. We'll see you guys. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, everyone.